Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the first day of our Natural Scotland week of live lessons. Spring is here and nature is all around us, even if sometimes it doesn't seem so, or maybe sometimes we forget. So this week will be all about reminding us that we're not just surrounded by nature, but we're part of nature too. How many of you saw the aurora the other day? I think yesterday, last night and the night before. There was really high alerts for aurora and it was beautiful. So many people posting photographs of the beautiful lights in the sky they were able to see. So that's a really good example of being surrounded by nature. Let's see what we'll be learning about this week. This week, we have another 4 amazing lessons and then an assembly on the Friday, which I hope you can join us for. Today, we're going to take a journey through how we and animals sense our world in different ways. On Tuesday, our friends from Butterfly Conservation will unpack the secrets and beauty of weeds and wildflowers and why they're so important. And on Wednesday, our friends from Buglife will join us to take a trip into the big world of tiny invertebrates. On Thursday, our friends from the RSPB will show us why birds are so special, from the common wren to the endangered corncrake. And Friday is our assembly. This week, we're going to be thinking about all the amazing nature around us and how we are part of nature. So to get started, let's find out what you have in common with nature. We have our usual couple of questions now. So I'm going to look at the chat to see what your answers are. Which of these animals has a home with its own ventilation system? What do you think? Is it meerkat? Put 2 hands up. Is it maybe a badger? Put 1 hand up. And if you think it's termites, put your hand on your head. So which of these animals is clever and builds a home with its own ventilation system? Go ahead and have a guess in the chat if you like. This one's quite cool. Ah, lots of you are very clever and are saying termites. And you're right, because termite mounds are built to allow air to circulate through the whole structure. So they have their own ventilation, their own air conditioning, if you like. And scientists are using this as an inspiration for ventilation for our own homes and buildings that's more efficient and has less impact on the climate. Ta-da! There's termite mounds there. They look pretty cool. Right. Our next question. Which of these animals likes to wear a hat? Is it a sea urchin? Put 2 hands up. Is it a basking shark? Put 1 hand up. Or if you think it's a jellyfish, put 1 hand on your head. Which of these animals likes wearing a hat? Let's see. Which do you think? Lots and lots of guesses in the chat. Bit of a mix this time, though. Some people think a jellyfish, and some think a sea urchin. Let's see. Who is right? It's a sea urchin. Very cool. And I have just lost my button here. Hang on. There you go. Sea urchins like to pick up lightweight objects like shells and wear them as a little hat to protect themselves. How cute is that? Right. So what would we like you to do this week? As always, we have a task for you. This week, we're running a little competition called Nature is Happiness. Right? We're going to learn about land art and the work of an artist called Andy Goldsworthy. So this week, we'd like you to be inspired by the land art movement, which you'll learn more about, and the works of British artist Andy Goldsworthy, to create a collective, like a group work, or an individual artwork representing what the phrase nature is happiness means to you. You can find full details about this in the resource folder, which your teachers have. There's also a resource to accompany this. And we're asking you to please take photos of your artworks and send them to us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org so we can display them during our assembly on Friday. Now, if you would please, if you don't already, have a whiteboard and a pen ready or a piece of scrap paper because you will need this during the lesson, which my colleague Nicola Davidson is here to deliver. Welcome, Nicola.
Hi, Kat.
Hi. Glad to have you here. Lesson's all yours, so take it away.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Kat. It's wonderful to have you all here today. I'm just getting all ready to go. So today we're going to continue the theme that we're really pushing this week, which is no matter where you are in nature. And that really doesn't matter where in Scotland you live. We have such an amazing diversity of nature across Scotland, and that includes right in the middle of our cities. So wherever you are, if you're currently in the middle of a city, if you're in the countryside, if you're on an island, if you're on the mainland, wherever you are part of nature. And so to look at that, what we're going to do today is have an exploration of how we sense the world, so all of our senses, and also how animals sense their world. So we're going to be thinking about some of the animals maybe that you'll hear a little bit more about later this week as well. So to start with, I have quite a simple question for you, and I want you to have a little think before you answer. How many senses do you have? So the way we understand the world around us is through our senses. How many senses do you have? Let's see. Oh, quite a few answers coming in already. That's fantastic. So how many senses do you think you have? Oh, there's quite a few there. Oh, mostly everybody's saying so far 5. So everyone I think so far has said 5 senses. And I'm pretty sure if I asked you to tell me what those 5 senses were, this is what you would tell me. So you would say smell, touch, sight, taste, and hearing. And they are our most dominant, some of our most dominant senses, and they're the ones we always think about when we think about how we sense the world. But actually, when you think about it, there are other ways that we sense the world and understand the world and how our bodies move through it. And actually, there's no real correct number for how many senses we have because it kind of depends on how you categorize them. So I've added a few extra ones here, some of which you'll easily recognize: temperature, itchiness, pain. They could be classified as different senses, really, because it's not the same as touch. Or you could say that that's part of touch. Depends how you classify it. That's why I say there's no right answer. I quite like a question where there's no right answer. And then there's 2 other ones there that some of you might have heard of, but you probably haven't. And they are called proprioception and vestibular. So don't worry about too much about those words because we're going to have a little exploration of what they are. What's really important is understanding that we sense the world in so many different ways. There is so much input coming in. So what we're going to do now is we're going to warm up your senses. So let's get our senses warmed up, ready for a little activity we're going to do. And to do that, we're going to understand a couple of these senses that you might not be aware of, but actually play a big role in how you sense the world. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test our vestibular system. So don't worry about remembering the word. The main bit is that to remember is that within your ear, in your inner ear, you have an organ that allows you to balance and also sense how especially your head, is moving through space. So it senses that movement of the head and keeps you balanced. And if you look on that little diagram there, you can see there's a little wiggly snail thing that looks like a snail on the right. That's what actually helps you hear. It's called the cochlea. And then just to the left of that, there's kind of 3 loops. One of them you can't quite see because it's going away from you. That's your vestibular system. So what I want you to do to warm up your vestibular system is the words at the top there read test your vestibular system. I want you to focus on those words, and then I want you to move your head around, but still try and be able to read the words. So look at the words, and you can tilt your head, you can move your head forward and back, you can turn your head side to side and turn it around in circles. You might look a bit mad, but that's absolutely fine. And you'll notice that you can stay focused. Your eyes can stay focused on those words. And that's because your vestibular system is telling your eyes where your head is and how it's moving so that your eyes can stay focused, which is pretty impressive. And if anybody wants to test out their balance later, if you balance on a balance beam, it's your vestibular system that's helping you correct left and right and keep you balanced. So that's us warmed up that system. The next thing we're going to warm up is our proprioception. Again, don't worry about the word, but proprioception basically means how you understand where your body is. So you might go, oh, I know where my hand is, I can see it. So the way we're going to test this is we're going to close our eyes. So I'd like you to close your eyes. I'm going to do that too. I want you to reach your hands out in front of you. Make sure your eyes are closed so you can't see them. And I want you to touch your right elbow with your left finger. You can pick the other one as well, but touch one elbow with one finger. Okay, with your eyes still closed. Open your eyes. Are you touching your elbow with your finger? Now that might seem like a really, really simple thing to do, but actually it's this amazing this sense of what's called proprioception that tells you where your body is when your eyes are closed. So that it helps us know where our body is in space, which is pretty amazing, really. So I know where all my body parts are, even with my eyes closed. So that's tested that sense. So now let's warm up a couple senses that you might be a little more familiar with. So I want you to now, we're going to test our hearing a little bit and get it warmed up. So I want you to tell me, hopefully this will work, what is making this sound? Fantastic. Hopefully you can hear it okay, it's not too quiet. Brilliant. Yeah, so everyone's identifying it's birdsong. Now, for an extra bonus, can anybody tell me what type of bird that might have been? It's a very common bird. I haven't given you any tricky ones, but it's going to be really hard to understand birdsong and know which ones they are. Does anybody want to have a guess at what bird that was? Oh, we've got a guess coming in. Oh, we've got a couple of right ones there. Oh, lots of fantastic ones. So yeah, it was a robin. So that was a robin having a sit on a tree and having a good shout about things. Well done for all those guesses, because yeah, the other a couple of guesses there, sparrow and some blue tits in there. They're also really common birds that we're going to be hearing, especially this time of year. Spring's a wonderful time to hear birdsong. So now we've got our ears warmed up. So here is an underwater picture. Can you tell me see if you can see what is hiding there? What type of animal is hiding there? And can you see where it is? There's one little clue as to where it is. See if you can find it and then tell me what you think that animal might be. Get our eyes nice and warmed up. Oh, we've got a few answers coming in. Oh, some good eye warm-ups here. Oh, that's a really interesting answer from Miss Finlayson. Oh, as well. Oh, fantastic. Lots of fantastic answers in here. Wonderful. All using our eyes really well, try and see what's there. So It's in this circle here, which you probably just about see because it's got its eye open there. If this animal had its eye closed, I'm not sure you would be really able to spot it. And it was a common octopus. But I can see quite a few people have guessed other undersea creatures, particularly things like cuttlefish, that are really good at camouflaging themselves. So a lot of animals actually try and fool us. So the robin was trying to shout and say, "Here I am, this is my area," and using senses to really communicate something. The octopus there was actually trying to hide from our senses so that it can protect itself. So now we've warmed up all of our senses, we're going to do a little activity. And if any of you have looked at some of our resources and things or done any activities with me before, you might have heard of an activity called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You might not have heard of it before, which is absolutely fine. It's a really simple exercise. And what we're going to do is we're going to use your senses to connect to the world around you. So this is a type of kind of like a mindfulness exercise, if you've heard of mindfulness, and it can be done anytime and anywhere. It ideally works best outside as a way to connect to nature and really help calm us down if we're feeling a bit stressed or anxious, but it can be done inside as well. So we're going to do it inside just now, unless any of you are lucky enough to be joining us from outside, but we can do it inside just now. And if you weren't aware, this week, as well as being Natural Scotland Week, is also Mental Health Awareness Week. And mindfulness exercises like this one are really, really great ways to help you look after your mental health and to help you cope with the world around you. And I use this exercise as well for my own mental health, and it's a really simple one. We're going to use the five main senses we discussed at the start. So we're going to use sight, touch, hearing, smell, and taste. Now, when we come to taste, just to be clear, I don't want you to actually put anything in your mouth or lick anything. We're just going to taste what we can already taste in our mouths. And we're going to do this just now as a practice in your classroom, but then hopefully you'll be able to do it outside at some point, maybe later today. Now, if you find that lots of people have a complete diversity of how they sense the world, so within people, there's a big diversity of different senses. So if you find that one of these senses is not so strong for you, and you prefer to try a different sense, you can change the numbers and things to suit your own senses. So what I would like you to do, first thing you're going to do is you're going to sit quietly. And what I would like you to do, please, is keep this inside for just now so that everybody gets the chance to sense their own things and find their own things. So we're not going to share this with your teacher, and your teacher can do this along with you as well. We're just going to sit quietly and see what comes to our own senses as we go through each of them. So the first one I'd like you to do is I'd like you to look around whatever space you are in just now and find 5 things that you can see. And they can be any 5, but like I say, just keep them inside. Look around your space, find 5 things that you can see. And 5 different things, please. Okay. Hope you've had a chance to find 5 things. Just giving everybody plenty of time. Okay. So hopefully you've all found 5 things that you can see in your area around you. Now I'd like you to find 4 things that you can touch and touch them to see how they feel. So try and maybe find 4 things that have slightly different textures. Remember though, don't touch another person unless you have their permission to. So maybe have a look what's around you on your desk or in the area around you and find 4 different things that you can touch. And just have a feel of how they might feel different to each other. Maybe temperature, maybe how rough or smooth they are. And you're not, this is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1's also, just to remind, is an easy way to remember this. You can do as many things as you want. If you find extra things, go for it. So the next one is 3 things you can hear. So I'm going to be quiet. I'd like you to all be really quiet so that you can see what can you hear around you when everybody in your class is quiet. And you might want to close your eyes because that helps. Sometimes closing one sense down helps us listen with another sense a bit more. Okay, hopefully you heard 3 different things. You might not have done. You might be in a really quiet place and you could only hear 1 or 2, and that's absolutely fine. Okay. Now we're going to see if we can see if we can smell 2 different things. So big deep breath in. See what you can smell. I often think smell is something that we don't use very much. We can use smell a lot more. And this is a nice bit of the exercise as well as smelling interesting things, it's helpful to take nice deep breaths to help you settle down if you're feeling a bit anxious. So can you smell? And then the last one is what can you taste? Like I say, what can you taste in your mouth just now? So don't put anything in your mouth, just what can you taste just now? Okay. So I hope you enjoyed that exercise. Maybe you didn't, it might not be for you, but if you did, see if you can maybe remember it because it's a really useful one. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And so what I would really like to know, having just done that exercise, did anybody notice something in your space where you are that you hadn't noticed before? Maybe you saw something that you hadn't noticed was there. Maybe you touched something, a new texture that you hadn't noticed, or heard something when the class was quiet that you didn't know was a noise that was in your environment. Did anybody notice anything that you haven't noticed before? If you did, it'd be lovely if you could share it in the chat. And some of you might not have done. Some of you might have just things that you're familiar with. But it'd be lovely to hear if anybody noticed something different at all, something new. Oh, there we go. The smartboard projector is loud. Oh, that's really interesting. You probably don't hear that often when there's all the noise and things happening in the classroom. That's wonderful. You could hear the teacher next door, or you could hear new people as well. Oh, that's a really wonderful one, Miss Forrest's class, actually, because particularly this time of year, it's May, middle of May. We're now coming up to the time when you'll be moving up a year, you'll be moving into a new classroom. Some of you might be going to a brand new school if you're in primary 7 and you're moving up to a new school. And this can be actually a nice exercise to do when you get to a new space to really help you settle into a new space. Notice what's around you. And helps you settle in. Also, it's quite a nice thing to do while you're still in your current class with all the people that you know. See if you can find something that's a really lovely memory to take with you as well that you can center you when you're in your new space as well. And we've got some other ones as well. It was quiet outside. Yeah, it's amazing as well. Sometimes we hear how noisy some background noise is. Sometimes we hear actually how beautifully silent it is as well. And you saw a fire blanket that you hadn't noticed, really wonderful. And there's a new sharpener in your class. Someone heard a stomach rumble. Yeah, that's quite often mine, but not today. Someone coughing. Really, really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those things that you noticed. So I want to send you, before we get on to our last exercise, I'd like to set you a little task for today. So you can either use that exercise, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and try and, if you can anyway, try and do that outside sometime today. Can be as a class, can be during a break time, can be when you're at home. Try and be outside today and have a go at the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and maybe see what different things you notice. How different do things feel when you're outside? And what I'd like you to try and do is when you're doing that exercise, or just go and have a look, but find something that you think is beautiful. So before the next lesson, I would like you to find something beautiful. And that can be something that's beautiful with your eyes, but also a beautiful sound, a beautiful smell, something that's beautiful to touch, that's really lovely to touch. So go and explore the world with all your senses, and then I'd love you to come back tomorrow and share some things you found that were beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that little thing. So the next little thing that we're going to do is look at some amazing animal senses. So far we've warmed up our senses and we've had a go at how understanding our environment and sensing our environment with our senses. But there's a lot of things in the world that we can't sense, but a lot of animals can. So every animal, every plant as well, has a different type of sense of the world around it. So we're going to look at some amazing animal senses, things that animals can sense that we can't. And I want you to try and tell me what the animal is from its specialist sense. And I'm going to give you 3 clues. So if you manage to identify the animal on the first clue, you get 3 points. If you manage to identify the animal on the second clue, you get 2 points. And if you manage to identify the animal on the last clue, you get 1 point. So we're going to do 5 different animals. So that's a maximum of 15 points. So you might want to have, this is the point where you might want to have whiteboards and pens or pencil and paper ready, because what I don't want you to do is shout out the answers. Because you're guessing based on the clues, you can't shout out and ruin it for everyone else. You have to keep it to yourself. So when you think you know, you write down what you think the animal is and the number of points next to it. And then if you're right, you get those points. Okay? Hopefully everyone's ready. So we're going to start with our first animal. So clue number 1 for the first animal. So I can see ultraviolet light. So that's light at a level of the light spectrum that we can't see. We can't see ultraviolet light. We can see blue light, but not into ultraviolet. But this animal can see ultraviolet light, which helps me find my food. And this is just a picture of a dandelion that's a kind of representation of how this animal might see a dandelion when it can see ultraviolet light. So don't put anything in the chat. I want you to write your answers down as a guess from 3 points. So you get 3 points if you get it right from this one. So your second clue, I like to eat nectar and pollen. I like to eat nectar and pollen. So if you can guess from the clue number 2, you get 2 points. Write it down, don't shout it out, don't share it in the chat. And your final clue, I live in colonies that may contain up to 50,000 individuals. I live in colonies that may contain up to 50,000 individuals. So if you get it on that clue, you get 1 point. Okay, so let's see if you got it right. It was a honeybee. So honeybees and lots of other insects, actually, lots of different types of bees and wasps and things can see an ultraviolet light. So that flowers can look really different. It's a nice one to actually have a look at with your teacher. You can have a look and go and look up how bees see flowers, and there's some beautiful images online of what a flower looks like to a bee. Oh, and I can just see a school saying that they've got to go to PE. Hope you have a wonderful PE lesson, and you can, have a look at the recording later and finish off the amazing animal senses game. Thank you. Okay, so for everyone else, we're going to go on to question number 2. So let's see if we can guess this amazing animal from its amazing sense. So this animal, for 3 points, I can sense the Earth's magnetic field and use it to find my way. So I can sense the Earth's magnetic field and use it to find my way. Write down what animal you think that is, and if you're right, you'll get 3 points. Okay. Clue number 2. I'm a very common bird in the UK with almost 500,000 pairs of me living here. If you get it on that one, that's 2 points. Okay, and our final clue. Some people keep me as a pet and train me to fly long distances. So if you get it on that clue, you get 1 point. Okay. We've all had a guess. So the answer is a pigeon. So actually, this is something that a lot of animals, particularly birds that migrate, so have to travel long distances, they need a way to know where they are. And quite a lot of birds have a way of sensing. They can sense the Earth's magnetic fields. They've got special cells that sense the Earth's magnetic field, and that means they know where north is. So they can sense it and they can keep moving in the correct direction. And pigeons are amazing at this. So you might think of a pigeon as being a really boring bird that you see all of the time, but actually they're incredible that they can actually sense where north is using little specialist cells in their bodies. I think that's a really cool sense. So did you get 3, 2, or 1 points? Mark it down as we move on to question 3. So question 3. So this animal, let's have our first clue. I sense time as moving 4 times more slowly than you. So you look like you are moving in slow motion. So this is about our sense of time and how fast things are moving. So for this animal, things are 4 times slower. Everything looks really slow because of the way it perceives time. It can perceive time so much faster. So 3 points if you can guess from that clue. For 2 points, I really enjoy eating your garbage. I really enjoy eating your garbage. So what do you think it might be if you've not got it on the first clue and you've got 3 points? For 2 points, I really enjoy eating your garbage. And the last clue, for 1 point, you will often find me in your house. That's 1 point. So the answer is a housefly. I will give you it if you just put fly, but particularly this is a housefly. Most flies actually perceive time really fast. They can process visual images really fast. So it's why it's quite difficult to actually swat flies. Ideally, we don't want to swat flies. We can shoo them out because they're amazing animals that do a lot of amazing things. But what happens is if you think you're kind of shooing a fly like that, it's going to look like this to the fly because it's able to process things, and they don't live for long, but actually they perceive time as a lot longer. And you might not actually see that many houseflies now. We've got so much better at managing our waste and our garbage that houseflies are a lot less common than they used to be. So that's our question number 3. I mean, work out how many points you got for that one. So we've got 2 more to go. So for number 4, here's our first clue. I can smell my food through several centimeters of soil. I can smell my food through several centimeters of soil. What kind of amazing animal do you think that might be? That's for 3 points. Okay. For 2 points, I am found across most of Britain, but you won't find me in winter as I will be hibernating. Bit of a bigger clue. So this animal can smell food through several centimeters of soil, found across most of Britain, but hibernates in the winter. That's 2 points. And then the last clue, if you need it. One of my favourite foods is earthworms. Big, fat, juicy ones. So if you can get it on 1 point if you haven't got it so far, write down your answer. And the answer is a hedgehog. So isn't that amazing? A hedgehog can smell, because if you go and smell soil, you smell the soil, you'll just smell soil. But a hedgehog can smell an earthworm several centimeters down. Isn't that amazing? Really amazing sense of smell, hedgehogs. So write down, did you get 3, 2, or 1 points on that one? And then we've got our final one. This is my favorite one. Tell you that one. So, final question for 3 points. Humans can't hear it, but I make laughter-like sounds at ultrasonic levels when I'm tickled. So ultrasound is really, really high frequency sounds that we can't hear. So other animals can hear them, and other animals use a lot of the time use ultrasound to communicate in lots of different ways. And this particular animal does communicate in ultrasound, and when you tickle them, they make a sound that we can't hear, but it's like it's laughter. They're kind of laughing because we're tickling them. And the picture down in the bottom there, that's an image of a recording of those sounds. So we can't hear them, but that's what they look like. That's the kind of movement of the sounds. So write down if you can think what kind of animal laughs when it's tickled, but we can't hear it. That's for 3 points. For 2 points, I'm a very common mammal found in the UK and across the world. This is a really common mammal. Hopefully you're getting some good guesses in. If you're not sure yet, for 1 point, some people like me and keep me as pets, but others consider me a pest and try to get rid of me. Very interesting one, this one. So write down your answers. Okay, and the answer is a rat, particularly a brown rat. It might surprise me with you because lots of people aren't very keen on rats. They're actually one of my favorite animals. I think they're incredible. But yeah, they laugh when they are tickled, which is an amazing fact. And they communicate in ultrasound. So they are often you can sometimes hear rats squeaking and you can hear it within our level of hearing, but they have this whole other layer of communication that we can't hear at all. And that's true of so many animals. So hopefully you can add up your points. So you'll have 5 lots of points. Add up your points, see how many you got out of 15. Oh, are we allowed mouse? I'm afraid we're not allowed mouse for that one, just because mice do communicate in ultrasound, but they don't laugh. So if you tickle a mouse, we've never recorded mice making these ultrasounds. It just seems to be rats. But really good thought, because you're right with the other clues. So well done for getting the other clues. But with this one particularly, I'm afraid the answer is rat. But well done, everyone. We're having a really good guess at these. So I hope you enjoyed that wee quiz. So this morning we have learned about all the different senses that we have, and we've warmed some of them up. We've maybe learned about a couple senses we didn't know that we had. We've used our senses to examine the world around us, and to help us really feel that we are part of nature. And I really hope that you can go and get outside and do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 exercise, and really sense the nature around you, because wherever you are, you will find nature. And finally, we have looked at some amazing animal senses and learned how amazing animals are. So go and look up some of those, because there's some really, really interesting things about animal senses if you're interested in learning more. And so, yeah, before tomorrow, as well as going and having a look at the amazing land art, and learning from our resource about how to go about creating your own version of land art, please do see if you can find something beautiful for tomorrow. So it'd be lovely to hear about the amazing, beautiful things that you found with your senses in tomorrow's lesson. So thank you very, very much for your attention. I really appreciate it. I'll hand you back to Kat now.
Thanks, Nicola. That was brilliant. I especially liked the last one too, because I'm quite partial to rats as pets. I've had quite a number of them as pets myself. So, yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
I can
wonderful.
confirm they do really like to be tickled on their tummies, and they make very good pets. Here's just a reminder of how you can share your work with us. If you go outside later on today and you do the senses activity and you find something beautiful that you'd like to share with us, you can send it to us at ecoschools@keepscotlandbeautiful.org, or you can find us on most social media platforms at KSB Scotland, and you can show us there. And if you have any questions as well, you can also send them to that email address throughout the week. Just one tiny correction. Earlier, I had said that the resources for this lesson were in a folder, as we usually do, put them on SharePoint, but actually this time they are all on our website where you signed up for the lesson. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you can join us again tomorrow and throughout the week. But that's all we have time for today, so bye for now.